Funerals this morning for 5 Palestinian journalists killed by an Israeli airstrike. The press body armour that's supposed to bring protection for journalists made them a target, according to Al Jazeera. Anas al-Sharif, fellow Al Jazeera correspondent Mohammed Qreiqeh, and cameramen Ibrahim, Zaher, Mohammed Noufal and Moamen Aliwa were in the journalist camp at the main gate of the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City when the IDF struck.
قتل الزملاء الصحفيين في قناة الجزيرة هو جريمة لم تكن الأولى من نوعها. الاحتلال منذ بداية العدوان قتل عشرات الصحفيين، وهذه جريمة يجب أن يقف أمامها الجهات الدولية. يجب أن يكون هناك محكمة للاحتلال أمام هذه الجرائم التي ترتكب بحق الزملاء الذين ينقلون الحقيقة.
Al Jazeera says this was an assassination, that Israel wanted to silence some of the last remaining voices within Gaza, providing unfiltered coverage of the war. The IDF has confirmed its target was Anas al-Sharif, in a statement saying he was a terrorist posing as a journalist, head of a Hamas cell which launched rocket attacks against Israeli civilians and forces, claims he and Al Jazeera had previously rejected as baseless.
من شمال قطاع غزة انكشفت في وظيفتك الحقيقية.
Critics accuse Israel of a smear campaign against Anas al-Sharif because he was one of the most prominent journalists reporting in Gaza. IDF spokespeople focused on him intensively, accusing him of being a militant. The United Nations said posts like these were unfounded, a blatant attempt to endanger the reporter's life. Anas al-Sharif was on the front line of the war from the beginning. Reporting on the blockade of Gaza and the starvation spreading through the Strip, he showed the scenes at Al-Shifa hospital, telling viewers people were collapsing on the street from hunger. Anas al-Sharif had received threats to his life. In 2023, an airstrike on his family home killed his father. The reporter said he lived with the knowledge he could be killed at any moment. In a final message written 4 months ago and posted online after his death, Anas al-Sharif says, "If these words reach you, know that Israel has succeeded in killing me and silencing my voice. I have lived through pain in all its details, tasted suffering and loss many times, yet I never once hesitated to convey the truth as it is, without distortion or falsification. I entrust you with Palestine, its people, with its wronged and innocent children who never had the time to dream or live in safety and peace." He leaves a wife and 2 small children, a boy and a girl. Israel does not allow international journalists into Gaza to report freely, so broadcasters rely on local correspondents, like those mourned after last night's attack, to cover the war. The Committee to Protect Journalists, which tries to defend press freedom, says the Gaza conflict has been the deadliest period for reporters in the 30 years it's been recording journalists' deaths. It says at least 186 have been killed in the territory. Condemnation of the journalist killings has ranged from the United Nations to Downing Street. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's spokesman said the UK government is gravely concerned at the repeated targeting of journalists in Gaza and called for an independent investigation into the killing of Anas al-Sharif and his colleagues. Joining us now is Tamer Almisshal, a senior presenter at Al Jazeera Arabic. Can you tell us about the contribution that Anas al-Sharif and his colleagues made to the reporting of the war in Gaza?
We lost 2 of our bravest, correspondents in Gaza, Anas al-Sharif and Mohammed Qreiqeh, and also we lost 2 of our teams, lost of our team in Gaza crew, Mohammed Noufal and Ibrahim Abu Zaher, and their other 2 journalists have been killed in this crime against our crew in Gaza. They were one of the few eyes from Gaza to the world. They were covering what's happening in Gaza, and the last coverage was them, the starving and the disaster of the starving in Gaza, which was during the last 4 weeks. And Anas al-Sharif has joined Al Jazeera in November 2023 as a Palestinian journalist from north of Gaza Strip. And he continued his coverage, despite all of allegations and accusations and all of difficulties, and even targeting his house and targeting his family. His coverage and reports and shots have been used, and his documentations have been used by different international mainstream, not just by Jazeera. We know why they have been targeted by the Israeli forces. The main aim and goal to target our team is to kill and hide the truth, hide the genocide which is being committed by the Israeli forces, to hide the crimes which is being committing every day in Gaza.
Anas al-Sharif particularly had been threatened before, hadn't he?
Yes, not just the recent threats that has been come out by the Israeli spokesman of the Israeli forces, but since his beginning of his coverage during this war. I will return to the November 2023 when he was covering the situation and the disaster in north of Gaza Strip, especially in the Indonesian hospital. He was received a phone call by the Israeli intelligence officer. He threatened him and ordered him to stop the coverage and leave Gaza and leave north of Gaza Strip to go to southern Gaza Strip. And he refused. And after this commitment by Anas al-Sharif, a few days later, they bombed his house, killing his father. So the allegations and the threats against Anas al-Sharif and others of our crews in Gaza, from north to the south, is not new.
And today, Al Jazeera has described IDF videos focusing on Anas al-Sharif as incitement. Why?
Justifying the killing of a Palestinian journalist who has covered and covering the war over the last 2 years, live, justifying by fabricated allegations and baseless accusations. This is another crime. And by the way, this is not new. Anas al-Sharif and Mohammed Qreiqeh, our correspondents, are not the first and only journalists that have been killed. I will remind you with our colleague who was killed in July, in 31st of July 2024, Ismail al-Ghul, our Gaza correspondent. The same allegations put against him a day after his killing. What the aim behind not allowing the journalist international to come to Gaza, not allowing any independent, from outside coverage to come to Gaza, and targeting the journalist, killing the journalist? We understand the only justification for these crimes that Israeli forces, they don't want the truth to come out of Gaza. Why Anas al-Sharif has been threatened during the last 4 weeks? Because he was the only eye from Gaza documented the starving disaster against the Palestinian civilians in Gaza.
The Israeli military is very open about the fact he was a deliberate target. The IDF says he was a Hamas militant.
They want to kill the truth. They don't want the truth and the documentation of their crimes and genocide to come out of Gaza.
Given the threat that he was living under, why did Anas al-Sharif say to you that he wanted to stay and keep reporting on the conflict despite the risks?
Anas al-Sharif, he was born in a refugee camp in North Gaza Strip. He has a family, he has a wife, he has 2 children, a daughter and a child. And he has mother, a family. Anas al-Sharif is not alone. He's a native Palestinian. He's not outsider. And he said, this is my duty as a Palestinian journalist to go on my coverage.
There has been and will be condemnation of these latest killings. But do you think the outrage at their deaths will have any impact at all on the safety of journalists working in Gaza?
Unfortunately, I was hearing contact, in touch with our colleague after the killing of our crew in Gaza. And they are saying, please, tell everyone in the world, stop, consider us as numbers. We are not numbers. They call all the journalists in the world. Please intervene to put an end to targeting journalists. If you compare any conflict zone, any war zone in our current history with this number of journalists have been killed, you will not find.
Tamer Almisshal from Al Jazeera Arabic, thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you very much.